Climate Change and Its Effects on Marine Life by Haley Merritt, Caroline Jury, and Caroline Smith. What is climate change? The United Nations describes climate change as long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. In the case of climate change, this means rising Earth temperatures. What is mostly causing climate change? The answer is human and human activities. What are some of the activities that humans do to cause climate change? Some of the activities include transportation, such as cars and buses that produce CO2, electricity production, the burning of coal to make electricity produces great amounts of CO2 into the air, and industrial activity, which can be seen in this picture. Many factories release pollution into the air, which causes CO2 to be trapped in the atmosphere. The pollution and CO2 that are emitted into the air create a greenhouse effect, which causes the heat from the sun to hit the earth and then be trapped in the atmosphere, which causes a rise in temperature worldwide. Did you know that 90% of excess heat trapped in the atmosphere will be soaked up into the world's oceans? Why is this a problem? Rising atmosphere temperatures leads to rising ocean temperatures. Rising ocean temperatures have numerous negative effects on marine life. Some of the negative effects climate change has on marine life includes acidification and melting ice. Acidification kills coral reefs, which are home to millions of ocean species. As CO2 is emitted into the air, it comes back down into the ocean, which causes acidity levels to rise. Many species cannot live with the changes in acidity, and this causes many species to die, such as coral and other small fish, which cannot handle the changes in acidity. Another effect is melting ice. Melting ice causes ocean levels to rise and habitat loss. The rising temperatures causes ice to melt, which not only rises the ocean levels, but it creates habitat loss for many Arctic species such as polar bears, penguins, and other fish that live in the Arctic. Some more negative effects include deoxygenation, which is the decline in the amount of oxygen in the ocean's waters. Like humans, all species need oxygen to survive. So as the CO2 comes into the water, this gets rid of a lot of the oxygen and the oxygen levels are declining. And if species don't have oxygen in their water, they will not be able to survive. So as the global temperature goes up and CO2 emissions go up, the oxygen levels of the ocean go down, which is harmful for many species. Another effect is the collapse of the marine food chain. As species die out from deoxygenation, acidification, and the melting of ice and the rising temperatures of the water, they will die out and many species will no longer have a food source. So as species die, this causes other species to die, and this will go all the way up the food chain.
Hi, my name is Caroline Smith, and I'm going to be talking about the examples. So, example number one that I'm going to be talking about is the ocean acidification from the CO2. So, this is when emissions cause the coral bleaching, which kills the coral and leaves them colorless and brittle, happens and occurs. Example number two is the rising global temperatures are causing icebergs to melt, and this causes sea levels to rise, but it also causes habitat loss for many species such as penguins and polar bears. And example number three is as the temperatures of the water are rising, many fish need to migrate in order to find an area with more suitable water temperatures. So not only do they need clean water, but they also need water that's going to meet their temperature. This has caused changes in shark migration patterns, and since their food source has moved, this has now caused sharks to come closer to shore in order to find new sources of food. So these are examples of what we can do to help. So example one is to reduce the energy use that we use. So lowering the amount of CO2 emissions, diversity, fisheries, building climate change resilience, take responsibility. So we need to leave marine life such as coral alone and let it live in its habitat without humans being in the area. And we need to reduce the energy inefficient transportation. So cars obviously are not good for the earth, so riding a bike, carpooling, things like that, little steps would really help make a change.
So going off what Caroline said, I really want to focus on reasons why we should protect our ocean. So one of the reasons is that the ocean feeds us. The biodiversity of our ocean provides around 50% of our intake of protein, and then seafood is the primary source of that protein intake for least developed countries. It also provides about 50% of our population a source of jobs and livelihood. Also, in order to survive, we need a healthy ocean. So this provides climate control, which I will focus on in future slides. And it also provides income, food, economic progress. So to look at how our ocean helps climate control, I want to focus on that oceans are the main factor on reducing global greenhouse emissions. So things like mangroves and coral reefs can keep a large amount of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, about up to 4 times more than forests can. And storing their carbon is a really good way to fight against climate change. Also, oceans are a great source of renewable energy. So, for example, wind that is created by the ocean creates a natural source of energy, and this can reduce the amount of CO2 that's put out into the environment. So, to continue on, I really want to talk about how a protected ocean makes for an increased potential of climate mitigation and adaptation. So, one way to achieve this is by monitoring protected areas within the ocean, and then that will help preserve the ability to keep their carbon. So going off of that, I really want to look at a study that was done by multiple researchers, and this study really focused on conservation and restoration of the ocean. So what they did is they observed 18 partially protected areas and 19 fully protected areas, and they did this by mixed methods, so interviews, site surveys, and reef life, which if you don't know what reef life is, it's just an underwater visual survey. So what they found is that partially protected areas had no more fish, algae, or others, and were poorly understood by coastal users. However, fully protected areas had more fish and were more valued by the public. So why that study is really important to understand ocean's control over climate control is that it helps with protecting our ocean ecosystem, and it shows that there's ability to sequester carbon, which is just to keep the carbon hidden. And then it also shows that humans are also a main factor in helping with climate control. So to take all this in, I just feel like we need to focus more on conserving our ocean and marine life and finding out a way to stop climate change. Climate change is not improving and is hurting many habitats, especially our ocean. And with the help of us, like reducing energy and taking responsibility, we can find solutions to help protect our ocean and most importantly, our Earth. Here's our references, and thank you so much.